Welcome to the LinkedIn Collective Studio at Cannes. I'm Yolanda Zor, Senior Content Marketing Manager at LinkedIn, and I'm here today to talk about the top trends shaping B2B marketing right now. Joining me today is Dan Gardner, co-founder of Code and Theory, and Dalton Dornay, CMO of Tenuity. Welcome both. Our second annual B2B Marketing Benchmark Report just launched here at Cannes, and it's themed around this idea of the B2B marketing organization of the future. Dalton, if I could start with you, what are the biggest changes we're going to see when we talk about the B2B marketing organization of the future?
We're in a period of intense change right now, just between AI and all of the things that are affecting our ability to measure effectively as CMOs. And so I think measurement is something that we're really focused on right now with our clients. I think there's a multitude of data signals that people have access to in the last 10 years really of the digital era have given people the ability to measure every single thing. And a lot of that is shifting and changing, and some of that is going away. And so being able to adjust and accurately say that I have confidence in front of my stakeholders and my shareholders that we are doing the right things, that we're making the right decisions is going to be really critical. And if you don't get it right now, you're not set up for the future. So that's a lot of what we're kind of spending time on is measurement, not just for validating what you're doing in the past and did it work, but really informing what is your next best move, what is your next best dollar to invest.
Amazing. And Dan, what's your perspective on this? Like, what trends are we going to see?
Yeah, I think the way I've been seeing things is, we've spent the last decade plus trying to get more sophisticated the way we market. And what we're going to see in the next couple of years is two important things that are going to happen. One is you're going to see a consolidation of the tech stack. So right now there's endless amount of pieces of software that are enabling marketers to be more effective, but it's fragmented across a huge landscape, and that's been always a problem. Everybody's been talking about data for years, but it's been a problem because we haven't been able to harness it. So we're going to see a consolidation of what will actually go into your tech stack to very few companies. That's number one. The second thing will be we will be closer to the buyer. So the B2B marketer will be closer to the buyer, and business decisions in general, even outside the marketing organization, will be closer to the buyer. So whether you're in product or services, everything will be closer when you take those two things. So there will be a redevelopment about the entire approach, about how you enable a marketing organization to actually communicate what they're trying to achieve.
Okay, and Dalton, anything you want to add in terms of that?
Yeah, I think it was in one of our trends that we released this year for our CMO report around personalization too, and that the fact that it's such an overused word, marketing, we've been talking about personalization for like 5-10 years, right? But I think with the rise of AI, what you can actually do from a personalization standpoint gets so much more compelling. And so I think that's going to be a really interesting thing that we're watching and excited to kind of do more with too.
Excellent. I mean, we're here at the Cannes International Festival of Creativity, where the boldest, most innovative brands are being recognized and awarded. Our benchmark found that 9 in 10 CMOs are investing in bolder creative, and that 67% are looking at investing in brand building, more investment in brand building. How important, Dalton, if I could start with you, is brand building in this new era of marketing, for B2B especially? First
of all, I love those stats. I get so excited as a CMO when I hear that, because I think that creativity and brand building in B2B can kind of get underrated. And there's so much focus on demand generation and account-based marketing, all this like measurable cool stuff you can do. But the truth is only 8% of buyers go with a vendor in their research phase. So if you're not building your brand in the off season, you are missing out on 92% of the opportunities for you to win a new piece of business. And the B2B buying cycle is incredibly long, it's incredibly complex. And so if you're not playing to win in those other moments, you're missing out on so much market share. And so I love that stat. I'm excited, and I'm excited to see the work this time next year when we're here. Hopefully there's gonna be some really cool B2B creative campaigns that we're celebrating and talking about.
Yeah, I think most of those CMOs are lying to themselves, if I'm going to be honest. I think it's we want bigger, bolder creative, and then when it comes to decision making, the tolerance of risk just doesn't live up to, I think, what they put out there. I mean, it's obviously, if that reigns true, it's music to my ears. I think it'd be a mistake not to go bigger and bolder. I think obviously we're going to talk even more about AI, but with the rise of AI, basically it's going to consolidate the market more, and all you will have is your brand. That's the only thing that can identify you as differentiation to get people to even consider the things that you are selling, especially from a B2B perspective. So I hope they live the values that they're trying to preach, but I think bigger and bolder creative is something that feels easy to say and hard to really execute on.
But how like what advice would you have for CMOs that are risk averse? Like, how do you encourage that? I mean, it's hard with budgets and, trying to prove ROI. Like, how do you create a culture of pushing for creativity?
Well, I think first, if you look at the stats, and the tenures of CMOs aren't the most incredible across the C-suite. So I think just there, the practicality of it is, go big anyway or go home, because it seems like the stats will say most of them eventually go home. So I think starting from there, look, I think creativity is about risk taking. There has to be that. Without a risk or opportunity, you're basically just status quo. So to me, things are just getting more competitive every single day. Share time, like you said, in the B2B especially, it's a complicated, long arc sales process. So if you're not taking risks to really push that along, you're just basically creating open doors for other people to come and take that sale. So for me, it's not even a question on what needs to do. And if you're not a CMO that can take risks, then you're not going to just all of a sudden start taking risks. It just doesn't work like that.
We've talked about AI. It's a topic that's unavoidable when you talk about the future of marketing. Dan, how do you go about the adoption of AI at Code and Theory, and how does it impact your creative outputs?
I've been looking in sort of three simplified buckets. The first bucket, and you alluded to this, is sort of get your data in order. We've spent years talking about this, and most companies still actually don't have it in order. It's not even ready to be utilized in a way that creates a differentiation. So that's just like baseline. You have to be working on that. The landscape is changing so quickly, but you can do that to be ready for the changes. The second bucket is just experimentation on the things that are unfolding. This to me is a table stake when especially creative agencies think they're so ahead because they're using the next version of Stable Diffusion, and that's the table stake. We're all using it. There's nothing different there. It's all how you put creativity on top of it. The third bucket is actually the most important bucket, which is how you actually touch a buyer or consumer. And I have a belief that the internet actually sucks right now, and it's not a great place to actually engage and find out things that you want. Like, for example, if you go to a B2B website now, or you look at the marketing, it's quite complex. Most of just way too many services, they're complicated, it doesn't really help you through it, it's not human. Almost everything on the web is like that. We've optimized the best of the early 2000s, and we've gotten over 2 decades later, a better version of that, but that is not the best version. So I think there's going to be this moment where we really redesign everything. It is actually, to me, an incredible creative moment here. It's the opposite of creativity is going to be threatened. It is the most creative moment I've seen since I started Code and Theory in 2001, to be honest, by far. So that is how you handle that, is incredible risk-taking. And more important than that, because I don't think you have to just throw things in the market, you have to be inventive. Which is a little different than creativity. It's a very specific part about it. You have to invent new ways to do things, and that will create opportunity.
I love that. The internet sucks.
Yeah.
And so does that need to be reinvented? And how do you see that?
Absolutely, it has to be invented. The thing I've realized is if you break down the internet in general, the constructs are the same as the late 90s. So for example, message boards, and now we have Reddit, and we think it's the most crazy thing ever. Now we have Slack. Once upon a time it was AIM, AOL Instant Messenger. These things, email sucks. It has sucked. It continues to suck. Yeah, there's some little things are better. Notifications are just driving us all crazy. So, but now people think the things that exist in the internet can't ever change because we've been using it. The same way that back in 1999, we were like, oh, newspapers are never going away because I love the feeling of turning a page. So we're stuck in these constructs that we think aren't going to change, but actually there are these incredible moments that you're going to just say, oh my God, I can do things in a totally different way. And there are organizations that are really investing in figuring these new use cases out that will have massive advantages and huge differentiation. And right now that's an open playing field.
So you're saying we need a whole paradigm shift, not just a evolution, but a revolution.
Yes, and you need what I think is real creativity, which is new, inventive, and imaginative ways of thinking, not just hey, a better campaign that is kind of cool and like maybe gets awarded at the Cannes Film Festival. I'm talking about like ways to do things differently. How do you engage with a buyer in a different way? For example, a B2B buyer, it's not just them buying it. It's not just like a consumer. Oh yeah, there's an emotional moment. I get it. I buy it. It's done. There's long life cycles. I have to sell through to my organization. There's like all these different things that you have to think about. Now, is the internet doing that for you right now? I don't see it happening. And the stuff that we're working on is really trying to think about the complexities that exist and not just make it slightly better, but actually solve the problem for those buyers so that actually becomes easier and less friction. And where there is friction, where we want to be intentional so they actually think, but not be frustrated. There's a difference there.
Dalton, how do you see AI and the role of the marketer in the future?
Yeah, I think there's so much press around, oh, is it going to take jobs? Or, oh, do you need less people now to do things? And I think that's really the wrong area of focus. I see it as a force multiplier. And so marketers naturally have a tendency to test, to learn, to try new things. Like we want to be doing that experimentation, and it's in our DNA, and we do it in other areas of our program. So you have to be testing, learning, trying new things, evolving your program, and trying to say like, okay, if I have the team that I have and the resources I have today, is this going to 2x my output, 5x my output? And so I think you really have to be smart about where you're investing and learning and moving quickly to make sure you're maximizing on those changes. And I love that the future of the web is coming, because I think of all of those moments, whether it's an ad or you're waiting on a webinar or you're filling in a form, those are all barriers between you and your customer. And they're necessary in the way that we work today, but they're all stopping you from having that one-on-one interaction, which is what everyone wants. So,
thank you. I think that's all we have time for. Thank you, Dalton, and thank you, Dan, for sharing your experience and your insights. For more B2B trends and insights, check out the B2B Benchmark Report now. Thanks.